If I told you that you could improve your English just by listening to a story, would you believe me? Well, it's true. Hi, everyone. Welcome to my channel. I'm so glad you're here. If you enjoy my content, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if this helps you in any way, please leave a comment below. Your feedback really keeps me going and helps me make more useful content for you. Today, I want to introduce a special way to practice English learning through stories. Why stories? Because they are interesting, easy to remember, and full of natural language. You get to hear how English is used in daily life, not just in textbooks. That's where Alex's story comes in. Alex is just a normal person like you and me. He goes to work, spends time with friends and family, helps others, and sometimes faces small challenges. Through his journey, you'll hear real English that you can use in your own life. This series is perfect for A2 to B1 level learners. It's great for listening practice, reading practice, shadowing, repeat after me, and learning useful phrases and vocabulary. Here's how you can use it. 1. First, just listen to the story and enjoy it. 2. Then read along and speak out loud. 3. Next, try shattering repeat each sentence right after you hear it. 4. Finally, take some time to learn and review the key phrases. And remember, learning English should be fun. With Alex's story, you'll not only improve your skills, you'll also enjoy the journey. And don't forget, like, share, and subscribe to support the channel and join me in more English learning adventures. So, are you ready? Let's begin the story of Alex together. Practice with me, and step by step, your English will get better and stronger. Now, let's get started.
Part 1. A day full of ups and downs. Hi everyone, my name is Alex. I'd like to share a story about one of the most surprising and emotional days I've had recently. It was a real roller coaster of a day full of highs and lows. The morning started off just right. I woke up feeling rested and full of energy. I looked outside and saw the sun rising. The sky was clear, and the light coming through the window made everything look warm and peaceful. I made a delicious breakfast: scrambled eggs, toast with butter, and a fresh cup of coffee. While I ate, I listened to my favorite English podcast, and I even repeated some sentences to practice my speaking. At 8 a.m., I left my apartment to go to work. I got lucky. The bus came right on time. On the way, I even found a seat near the window and enjoyed the view of the city waking up. I thought to myself, what a perfect start. But things started to go downhill soon after I got to the office. When I reached into my bag, I realized something was wrong. I had forgotten an important folder for our team meeting. My heart dropped. That folder had the presentation notes I had prepared over the weekend. I panicked for a moment, then quickly called a taxi and rushed home to get it. The taxi ride took forever. There was traffic everywhere, and I couldn't stop checking the time. When I finally returned to the office, the meeting had already ended. I felt embarrassed and unprofessional. My boss gave me a disappointed look, and I couldn't even explain properly because I was so out of breath. Things got worse during lunch. While reaching for my phone, I knocked over my coffee cup. It spilled right onto my white shirt, leaving a large brown stain. I had no change of clothes, so I had to spend the rest of the day looking like I had bathed in coffee. Then, around 3 p.m., I was almost done with a report I had worked on for hours. Just as I was about to hit save, my computer froze. Everything disappeared. I tried everything I could, but the file was gone. That was the last straw. I sat back and sighed. What had started as a great day had turned into a disaster. Part 2. Finding the bright side. When work finally ended, I walked home slowly, feeling tired and frustrated. I needed fresh air. That's when something unexpected happened. I heard soft music coming from a corner of the park. A street musician was playing the violin. The tune was calm and beautiful. I stopped to listen, and for a few minutes I forgot all about the coffee stain, the lost file, and the missed meeting. As I continued walking, I heard someone call my name. It was my friend Emma. She saw my face and immediately said, "You look like you had a rough day." I laughed and nodded. "Want to talk about it?" she asked. We sat on a bench with ice cream in our hands and talked about everything that had gone wrong. Emma listened patiently, then shared a funny story about her own bad day. Talking to her made me feel much better. That's when I realized something important. Even on the worst days, small things like music, a kind friend, and even ice cream can help you feel okay again. Part 3. What this day taught me. From this roller coaster day, I learned that it's okay to have bad moments. Life isn't perfect and things won't always go as planned. But what matters is how you handle those moments. I learned to stay calm and try to solve the problem, like when I rushed home for the folder. I also learned not to let small problems ruin my whole day. I laughed at myself after the coffee spill instead of getting angry. Most importantly, I saw the value of friendship. Talking to Emma made me feel less alone. Part 4. A message to English learners. Now, if you're learning English, maybe you've had your own roller coaster moments. Maybe you forgot words while speaking, made grammar mistakes, or didn't understand what someone said. That's okay. Everyone goes through it. What's important is to keep practicing, to stay positive, and to enjoy the journey. Just like my day had bad parts and good parts, your learning will have the same. Use stories like mine to improve your listening, reading, and shadowing. Speak out loud, repeat sentences, and most of all, don't give up. You're doing better than you think. Saving a cat, Part 1, the morning surprise. Yesterday was like a roller coaster. I had so many problems, work was stressful, my phone stopped working, and I missed the bus home. By the time I got back, I was exhausted. But this morning felt completely different. The sun was shining, the air was fresh, and the sky was a beautiful light blue. Birds were singing outside, and I could hear the soft sound of leaves moving in the breeze. I made myself a cup of tea and sat on the sofa for a few minutes. I felt peaceful. Then I stood up and went to the balcony to do some morning stretches. I do this every day. It helps me relax and prepare for the day. As I was lifting my arms and breathing deeply, I suddenly heard a strange sound. Meow, meow. It was soft at first, but then it became louder. I looked around, trying to find where the sound was coming from. And then I saw her, a small gray cat, stuck on the roof just below my balcony. She looked scared. She tried to move, but she was too afraid. Her body was shaking a little, and her eyes were wide. She didn't know how to get down. Part 2. Taking action. I knew I had to help her. I couldn't just watch and do nothing. First, I went back inside and found a towel, a cardboard box, and some food. I wasn't sure what to do at first, but I told myself to stay calm and think step by step. I returned to the balcony and spoke to her in a soft voice. "Hi, little one. Don't worry. I'm here to help you." At first, she didn't move. She just looked at me and cried again. So I placed the towel carefully at the edge of the balcony and gently reached out my hand. She moved slowly toward the towel, sniffing it. I waited patiently, trying not to scare her. Finally, after a few minutes, she stepped onto the towel. Very gently, I pulled her up and placed her into the box. I could feel my heart beating fast, but I also felt relief. She was safe. Back inside, I gave her a small bowl of water and some tuna from a can. She ate quickly, like she hadn't eaten in days. I let her rest for a while in a warm corner of my living room. Later that day, I called a local animal shelter. They came to check her health and said she looked weak, but would recover. Before leaving, one of the staff smiled at me and said, "You probably saved this cat's life. Thank you for caring." Part 3. What I learned. That day made me feel something important. Even after a bad day like yesterday, Today gave me a chance to do something meaningful. Helping a small animal reminded me how powerful kindness can be. I also realized that sometimes when we take a moment to pause and listen, we notice the world around us more clearly. If I hadn't stopped to stretch and listen, I wouldn't have seen her. We all have busy lives, but moments like this show us that small actions can make a big difference. This cat reminded me that kindness, no matter how simple, is always worth it. And when you help someone or something, your day becomes brighter too. Part 4, a familiar face and a sweet beginning. The next morning, I went downstairs to check my mailbox. Inside was a small cream-colored envelope with my name on it. To Alex, thank you. The handwriting was neat and soft, almost like a gentle voice. I opened it right there in the hallway. Inside was a handwritten note. Dear Alex, the cat you saved yesterday, her name is Lily. She had been missing for 2 days. I was so worried. I thought I had lost her forever. But thanks to you, she is safe and home again. I live just 2 floors below you in apartment 202. Please come by sometime. I would love to thank you in person. Warmly, Clara. I stood there smiling, holding the letter like it was something precious. I had seen Clara before, maybe once or twice in the elevator, but we had never spoken. It's strange how one small moment can lead to something big. That evening, around 7 p.m., I decided to visit. I took a deep breath and knocked on her door. Clara opened it with a warm smile, and Lily curled in her arms. The little gray cat looked calm and content, purring gently. Come in, Clara said cheerfully. I made some cookies. I hope you like chocolate chip. Her apartment was warm and full of small lights and green plants. We sat at her kitchen table and drank tea together. The cookies were fresh, and Lily sat by my feet, brushing against my legs. Clara told me how she adopted Lily from an animal shelter on a rainy day. She was so small and wet and scared, Clara said. I just knew she was meant to be with me. I shared how difficult the previous day had been for me, how it felt like everything had gone wrong. Clara nodded and said, sometimes life gives us something good when we least expect it. That night, we talked for nearly 2 hours. We laughed, we shared stories, and I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time, connection. Part 5, Days of Kindness and Little Changes. In the days that followed, my daily routine began to shift in the best way. Clara and I started to talk more often. Sometimes we would meet in the morning for coffee. Other times, we would share small meals or trade books we had finished reading. One Sunday, Clara invited me to join her at the local weekend market. We walked side by side, sipping warm soy milk and looking at fresh vegetables. She picked up some cat treats for Lily, and I bought some bread for my breakfast. We laughed about how Lily had become the queen of both our apartments. Lily often came up to visit me. She would sit on my balcony and watch the birds fly by. Once, she even took a nap on my keyboard while I was working from home. I didn't mind, it made my home feel a little more alive. One rainy afternoon, I was feeling tired and stressed, but just as I sat down, there was a soft knock on my door. It was Clara, holding a thermos of hot soup. You look tired this morning, she said. I thought this might help. That small act of kindness meant more to me than words could say. Part 6. What I learned. This entire experience taught me something simple but powerful. We often think that helping someone means doing something big. But sometimes it's the small, quiet moments that mean the most. Rescuing Lily didn't just help a lost cat, it helped me find a friend. I had lived in this building for years, yet I had never really known my neighbors. Now I had someone to share tea with, laugh with, and lean on when life got tough. I realized that kindness is like a door. You never know what's waiting behind it until you open it. And once you do, it can lead you to unexpected friendships, peaceful mornings, and warm soup on rainy days. Now, when I hear Lily's soft meow or see Clara in the hallway, I'm reminded that connection starts with one small act of care. A surprise visit. Saturday is usually my favorite day. No meetings, no alarms, just peace and quiet. That morning, I slowly opened my eyes and looked around my room. The sunlight came in through the curtains, and I could hear the sound of birds in the trees. I reached for my phone. 8:10 a.m. I smiled and thought, perfect, I'll sleep a little more. But then, ding dong. Ding dong, the doorbell. I jumped. Who's visiting this early? I mumbled. I got out of bed quickly, put on my slippers, and walked to the door, still half asleep. When I opened it, I was completely surprised. It was my mom and dad, smiling wide. My mom holding a small cake box. My dad carrying a travel bag and some balloons. Surprise, they both said. Happy early birthday, Alex. I was speechless. Then I remembered my birthday is on Monday. I had been so busy at work that I completely forgot. Reunited. Come in, I said quickly. I hugged them both, still shocked but happy. They hadn't told me they were coming. We thought you could use some family time, said my mom. So we planned a little surprise. They looked around my small apartment. It wasn't very tidy, but they didn't mind. It's cozy, my dad said with a wink. My mom opened the cake box. Inside was a small, beautiful chocolate cake with the words, Happy birthday, Alex. She also brought some of my favorite home-cooked dishes, steamed fish, stir-fried green beans, and tofu soup. We had breakfast together. We laughed, told stories, and talked about old memories, looking at the past. After breakfast, we sat on the couch and opened a photo album. My mom had brought it all the way from home. There were pictures of me in school, on family vacations, at birthday parties, and playing with my old dog, Max. Each photo made us laugh or sigh. I realized how fast time had passed. Look at your face in this one, my dad said, showing a picture of me covered in cake at age 4. We all laughed until our stomachs hurt. A walk and a gift. Later, we went for a walk outside. The weather was lovely blue skies, a gentle breeze, and warm sun. We walked to a small local shop where my parents secretly bought a gift. When we got home, they gave it to me, a simple leather notebook with my name on the cover. We know you like to write down your thoughts, my mom said. This is for your stories, dreams, and goals. I smiled and thanked them. It wasn't expensive, but it felt meaningful. Dinner with a surprise guest. That evening, we decided to cook dinner together. I was chopping vegetables when we heard a knock on the door. It was my neighbor, Mrs. Wong. She's an elderly lady who lives next door. She had seen my parents arrive and said hello earlier. She brought over a homemade apple pie and said, I heard it's your birthday weekend. Hope you don't mind a little treat. I invited her in. Soon, we were all sitting together at the table, enjoying dinner like an extended family. She told us stories about her own children who lived abroad. It was the kind of dinner that warms your heart, a moment to reflect. After everyone went to bed, I stayed up a little longer, sitting near the window. The stars were bright. The air was quiet. I opened the notebook my parents gave me and started writing. Today reminded me that love doesn't need big plans or expensive gifts. It can be a surprise visit, a homemade cake, or an old photo. It's the feeling of being seen, remembered, and loved. Life gets busy, but we must make time for the people who matter. I closed the notebook and smiled. Yes, this was the best birthday surprise I could have asked for. Saying goodbye. Told by Alex. The weekend passed so quickly. It felt like just yesterday my parents arrived at my door, holding a cake and wearing big smiles. But now it was Monday morning and they were packing their bags. I stood in the living room, watching my mom fold clothes into her suitcase. My dad was carefully wrapping up the souvenirs they had bought. The apartment, which had felt so full of life, was slowly becoming quiet again. The ride to the train station. We ordered a taxi to take them to the train station. During the ride, we talked about little things. The weather, the new tea shop near my home, and how I should take better care of my plants. But inside, I felt a little heavy. I didn't want them to see how sad I was. I smiled, nodded, and listened. But my heart was already starting to miss them. At the station. When we arrived at the train station, my mom held my hand for a long time before letting go. "You've grown so much," she said softly. "I still remember when you were a little boy, always running around the house in your pajamas." My dad gave me a strong hug. "Remember to eat well, rest, and don't forget to call us, okay?" "I will," I said. "Every weekend, just like always," the announcement came on. Their train was ready to board. The goodbye. We walked together to the gate. They gave me one last hug, and I waved as they went inside. My mom turned around and blew me a kiss. Then they were gone. I stood there for a few minutes, watching the train tracks, until the crowd slowly moved away, back home alone. When I got home, the apartment felt a little too quiet. The teacups were still on the table. A folded blanket was left on the couch. I picked up the photo we had taken together at the viewpoint. We looked so happy, wind in our hair, city behind us, and warm smiles on our faces, reflections. I made myself a cup of tea and sat by the window. Outside, the sky was cloudy, but I felt a warm glow in my chest. I realized something. Saying goodbye is never easy, but it also means we had something special. My parents didn't stay long, but the memories we made would stay with me. Family visits are like sunshine after rain. They bring light, warmth, and comfort. And even after they're gone, the feeling stays for a while. Final thoughts. That night, I opened my notebook and wrote, "Today I said goodbye, but I'm not sad. Because I'm thankful for the time we had, for the love we shared, and for a family that feels close, no matter the distance." A letter to my future self, told by Alex. This morning I woke up to a quiet home. The sun was shining through the window, and the sky was bright blue. The weekend had passed, and my parents had already returned to their home. The apartment felt a little empty. No sound of mom cooking in the kitchen. No sound of dad reading the newspaper on the balcony. I made myself a cup of tea and sat down by the window. I thought about how happy I felt during their visit. Their surprise, their laughter, the meals we shared, the walk in the park, and the stories we told. It all felt like a beautiful dream. Then a thought came to my mind. What if I write a letter to my future self? Starting the letter, I took out my notebook and a pen. I opened to a clean page and wrote at the top, "To my future self, open 1 year from today." I smiled and began to write slowly, thinking carefully about each word. Dear future me, today is a beautiful morning. The house is quiet again after a weekend full of joy. Yesterday, Mom and Dad left. They came to visit me for my birthday. It was a surprise. I didn't even remember that my birthday was coming. When I opened the door and saw them, I was so shocked and happy. It felt like a dream. We spent the weekend doing simple things, cooking, walking, talking, and laughing. We didn't do anything very big, but every small moment felt special. I want you to remember this feeling. Don't forget how lucky you are to have people who love you so much. I hope that in the future, you're still doing your best. Maybe you're working on new projects. Maybe life is a little hard sometimes. But please remember to slow down. Remember to call Mom and Dad. And most importantly, remember to be kind to yourself. You are growing. You are learning. You are doing fine. When things feel stressful, read this letter again. It will remind you of who you are and what truly matters. Don't forget the warmth of a hug, the comfort of a home-cooked meal, and the joy of a simple conversation. These are the things that fill life with meaning. Here are 3 promises I want you to keep. 1. Take care of your health. Eat well, sleep well, move your body. 2. Stay in touch with family and friends. Don't wait until it's too late to say, I miss you, or I love you. Keep dreaming. Even when things feel uncertain, never stop hoping and never stop trying. With love and hope, your past self, Alex, after writing. When I finished writing the letter, I folded it and placed it inside an envelope. I wrote the date, open on July 6th, next year. Then I tucked it away in my desk drawer. As I closed the drawer, I felt something deep inside. A kind of peace, like I had given myself a small gift. What I learned. Writing this letter reminded me of something important. It's easy to forget the good days when life gets busy. It's easy to worry about the future or feel lost in stress. But when we take time to reflect, we realize how much love, how much progress, and how many beautiful memories we already have. I don't know what next year will look like, but I know that today I am grateful, and I hope my future self will read this letter and smile. My message to you, dear English learner, if you are learning English, maybe you can try this too. Write a short letter to your future self. It's a great way to practice writing, but it's also a way to understand yourself better. Use simple words. Be honest. Speak from your heart. You might be surprised by how powerful it feels.